Is the selling because China announced new AI models? Nvidia looking pretty terrible here, right? Being held under this trend line, 5% down day, one of the weakest names in the market. This is a star child and it's getting brutalized. Or is this selling because the government reopened and it's just sell the news? We already priced it in. Now we're going to sell back off. Or is it because of the comments that were made today saying, oh, we're going to lose 1.5% of GDP. We're going to have that destruction and inflation fears back on the table. Or is it selling because people realized that tariff dividend doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get checks in the mail? Could be a number of things, right? But honestly, this is what we've been talking about, especially if you watch the newsletter, if you're a member of the Discord, because I'm going to share today's daily recap across all the socials. We were looking for some sort of Fibonacci retracement before we dump back to the downside. And this looks exactly like that. It now looks like a clear ABC pattern to the downside. So the one thing I will comment is we're pretty extended here. But if this is truly an ABC, we would look for something like 65.80. Potentially lower. Potentially you're going to 6,400 from here. It's coming back to a very strong holding. It is very extended. But like even Bitcoin here, not only is this breaking a trend line that's held since 2024 on Bitcoin, but it's also breaking this recent low here. Yeah, it's really extended, but typically we're going to need to retest this full move to the downside, even if we do see some sort of bounce, because it's so substantial. And you can already see like the bearish EMA is actually where this trend line is. So if you're a short-term perp trader, if you see a denial of this trend line, this bearish EMA on the 65-minute, that's a grade A short. Hood right here looks like an amazing short. Hood breaking massive key levels here. It's weak with crypto. There's also a weak consumer. Those weaker consumers that are, on the other end of that K-shape, those are Robinhood users, and they're all getting brutalized by all the data that you can see, right? I really like this short idea, especially if you get like a back test of 123, 124, and it fails. I like that. Today we had several great trades. We've been short on BE. I posted on X. I said I bought as many of these as I could stomach, and in the small account, we actually put almost half of the small account in BE puts. And my word, what a wonderful dump today was. I even took profits too early. This move to the downside, just so much more than I expected. It's the worst move we've had to the downside since October when we had that like 3% downside day. However, this shows some signs of life, and this is not showing any signs of life anywhere in the market unless you're in BRKB. So it looks awful. CCJ was another short we went for today. We took a scalp on Irene as well, made like 30% there, 50% in CCJ, made a nice 30% on IBIT, rolled with those profits because, again, like especially IBIT right here, these options are not pricing in a potential Bitcoin crash. It's not taking into consideration the major technicals that Bitcoin has broken. And, keep in mind, Bitcoin breaking these technicals, I think 70s are totally possible. If Bitcoin goes into the 70s, IBIT's pricing in only like a 10% chance that you can go to 40. It's going to 30 if Bitcoin goes down to the 70s. It'll go in like the mid 30s. So I think heavily mispriced options there. Something to take a look at because they're extremely cheap. They're like 4 cents per contract here. So it just awful across the board. Oh, Goldman Sachs, another short we went for. Same exhaustion story. Again, did not expect it to not only do a full reversal of yesterday, but continue to sell off. Ideally, I just wanted 823, but today is just something else, man. Today was just something else. And even on this key support where you're getting this bounce, if you get a continuation, it might be a complete trend reversal for Goldman Sachs. It might be a larger retracement inbounds. I was just looking for this to come revisit on the daily and the weekly, and this is the same trade. this is actually the factors that went into this is now a new playbook. It worked on Amazon, MU, Google, Oklo. Man, we've actually done the same exact technical setup. What is it, like 7 or 8 times over the past 2 months? Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Put that in one of the playbook because it's one I've been kind of sitting on for a while. But now it looks like an actual looks like I've actually finally, after years and years of trading, found a really solid way for timing tops. At least in this current market environment, it is worked absolutely beautifully. So yeah. So we are now, yeah. I think that's it. That's all the comments I got, man. People are blaming this sell off and all kinds of news and stuff, but honestly, just kind of fits our playbook. In fact, I think the amount of upside we got was what was odd to me, not really the selling back to the downside. I was looking for, a 50% or, that golden zone, the 61.8% retracement. No, we almost went to an 85% retracement back to the upside before we dumped back down, which is, I think, what is actually unusual. And statistically that's unusual if you were going to see continued downside. So luckily, with the way that this set up day to day, it wasn't enough to destroy my bearish thesis. So I wasn't caught flipping long before this dump back down because it was so weak yesterday and the day before on the price action. So that was good. That was nice, but when we're looking at other names like Google and stuff, you're breaking back into this parallel channel. Kind of looks like you wanted a form of bull flag here. That bull flag has completely failed. Daily rolling over. And again, on tops like this, still no RSI confirmations. And this is stuff we've been talking about for a while. This pullback is so freaking healthy for this market, because the worst thing that could happen is that you don't get a pullback like this. You continue to melt up into the end of the year. And then what's going to happen? You're going to crash hard because that's what happens. Then you're in full blown bubble, then game over. And after game over, who knows what happens next, So this is you might blow up so many people, volume and participants don't come back into the market. This type of move, even though a bunch of retail traders are crying on the socials, this is fantastic. This is best case scenario. You want to reset that, and then we can all pile in and get even better entries to get long again. Okay. This is good. Everything is very good. Okay. This is best outcome. Let's get a little bit more selling, let's go ahead and break some of these technicals, and then buy some dips, because, I don't think the AI story is done, especially on NVIDIA here. There's probably going to even be a great opportunity on this. I guess I'll end this video, so it's posting this on all the socials as a little freebie. Watch AMD here. AMD is one of the few things that's trying to pull a magic trick. It's trying to say I'm above all of this and it's trying to float up here. I don't think it is. I think this thing's gonna get hammered. Yet another day selling. AMD's got a target on its back. Okay. So that's it. Hope you all survived today, made some money. We had a great day. Another thing in the change behavior by the weakness today, which was the only losing trade that I had today. I only had one loser. I bought in the small account. I bought one 0TE SPY call on the double bottom here. We can look at the 15 minute trying to find a turn here. And the 5 minute was looking good. And typically you see this type of breakout. You see these really strong candles after setting this double bottom. That's your 3 candle pattern, right? Go watch the YouTube. I did a whole video on price action, and that failed. Just kind of shows you how weak today is. Now, ideally for trading tomorrow, you'd want to see a small gap up, maybe even a little larger gap up that catches resistance either around this key level or around this key level, and then just a turn, and then it makes a fantastic continuation, especially names like Hood, like we talked about. This is a perfect example. you've kind of broken the technicals, but you're too far extended on the daily. I mean, look, you're 9 points away from where the bearish EMA is. So you want this ideally for a continuation of a short. You ideally would want this to bounce back to like 424 and just come meet, had that bearish EMA come down and have the price come up, and to kind of reset that movement. Because right now everything's like too far extended. Everything right now is very rubber bandy, and it's the same concept when I was shorting stuff that was running too hot, like Goldman Sachs was running too hot. Well, now you're too hot to the downside. And so you would like to see some sort of bounce, some sort of reset, and then you can continue that price action to the downside. So it's important to understand for understanding the waves of the market. Okay. So hope you found that helpful. If you did, like this video on the socials. Okay. Maybe give it a share. I would appreciate it. God bless.